Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for joining us for another movie review. Today we're talking spoiler-free, How to Train Your Dragon, The Hidden World. But before we get to the review, if you like this type of content, movie reviews, unboxings, and the occasional vlog, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. With that out of the way, let's jump right into the review.
Okay, so I just want to say that this film is the conclusion to the trilogy, and I know what you're thinking. Is that a spoiler? No, it's not, because it even said in the trailer and all the promotional stuff that this will be the last film in the trilogy, and I think the trilogy ended up pretty epic, and this film I really like.
I really like this film a lot, and I like the different themes and thematically what this movie deals with. For once, it's Hiccup trying to be the leader for his village, for his people, to do what's best for them, and having to take on that mantle of chief with his father now being gone for about a year. I think it's a year after the events of How to Train Your Dragon 2. Sorry, is that a spoiler, but that was 5 years ago when the movie came out. So yeah, he has to take on that mantle, and we know from the beginning he was a bit of an outsider. He was a bit like unsure of himself, and it's through this dragon training that he becomes who he becomes, and it's always Toothless at his side that makes him feel the confidence. And at this point in this movie, he's dealing with the fact that there's some big changes coming in his life, and it all really culminates with him trying to find the safest way to keep his people in the best position possible. And I really like how they dealt with all of that.
And yeah, when you think about it, this film is also really funny. It manages to go through the same thing, and once you're at a specific level, it actually does that for the most part. And yeah, this film is just really funny too.
It really is, and I like the evolution of Toothless and Hiccup's relationship. It's almost like that of son and father, and I could really relate to that. Have me, who I was a son at one point, still am, and now that I'm a father, and how Hiccup worries for Toothless. I'm trying not to spoil it, guys. That's why I'm taking measured words to make sure I don't spoil anything. But that whole relationship and that whole dynamic, to me, it's more than just a boy and his dog, and that's what some people look at the movie. And I don't think it's just that. It's friendship, it's true companionship and understanding between the two of them, because Toothless is a bit of a outcast. He's not your normal dragon. He has that mantle of leadership himself, and he's in charge of wrangling all the dragons, and I think them together really work. And like I said, to me, it's more than just a pet and a pet owner. It's kind of like a father-son type of relationship.
When it comes to negativity about the film, it's that the villain with this film wasn't really all that interesting. He was just like your typical villain, where it's like, all right, he's there, and yeah.
Exactly, and some of his dialogue was almost comical. I'm like, you're supposed to be menacing and scary, and you're like chuckling every other line. It makes no sense.
And yeah, without getting into too much spoilers, just this thing is he wants, but it's not really explained too well. Like, it's mentioned once, and yeah, it's never mentioned again.
And even then, Eric, to go off your point, it's not really explained. It's just like a line or two of dialogue within the movie, and like, boom, there's his motivation. This is why he does what he does, and it really comes up short and has to be the weakest part of the movie. Is there any other things that stood out to you from the movie?
Oh, and if there's something I have to say, it's the animation. The film looks gorgeous. The animation, it looks great. It matches the tone of the movie, and the animation is just stellar.
Yeah, I also like they went back to like, if you guys remember in the first movie, they showed a lot of scenes of just the interaction between Toothless and Hiccup, and there was very little dialogue. It was more about how the characters, sort of convey those emotions, and I really like that they went back to that, especially those flying scenes between Hiccup and Toothless. I'm sorry, and in this one they do the same thing with Toothless and another character. Well, you guys seen the trailer, so it's the Light Fury, and it's that whole dynamic being their relationship evolving without the use of dialogue. I really like how they did that as far as pushing that story beat across. Anything else that stands out for you, sir?
Nothing really that stands out. The thing that prevents this movie from being like 10 out of 10 is really the villain. And something I do want to say is that the ending was quite touching, in my opinion. Anything you have to say about the ending?
Before we hop into the ending, because I have a good amount to say about that, is I think the MVP, quiet MVP, and should be more acknowledged, I think, is Astrid, because she was the strength behind a lot of things, and she really stepped up and shouldered some of the responsibilities that maybe should have been not put on her, but she handles everything with a great amount of grace and wisdom, and I really like the character, and I believe she is truly the MVP. Now, as for the ending, as you guys know if you saw the trailers, it is the end of this trilogy, and I myself was extremely satisfied with the way they handled it, from the visuals to the musical cues to other things. I really like how they handled it all, and I felt like, yes, that's a great way to conclude this trilogy. You?
Yep. Great way. And yeah, that's just my overall thoughts on this film. If you haven't seen it, you should go check it out. We almost decided to miss out on this film, but I feel so good that we didn't.
Exactly. It's Sunday. We typically go Friday early afternoon, and we sort of debated because of scheduling and different things. But I like Eric says, I really like to echo that emotion that I'm glad that we caught this in theaters. We've seen both of the other ones when
and
they
we
came
both
out.
seen them on Sundays.
We've seen the entire trilogy on Sunday. It just so happens that it worked out that way. I guess it was destiny that we saw this one on Sunday too. We really enjoyed it. We recommend it. If you're a fan of the original trilogy, this movie ranks pretty high up there. I would have to, at this moment, I have to say that the first one is still the best one. But maybe on rewatching this one a couple of times, because for me it's definitely a day one purchase when it comes out on 4K / Blu-ray. Maybe a couple of more times watching it, this may surpass the first. Hard to say at this moment, but I really enjoyed it. I liked it. And Eric, your closing thoughts?
Yeah, this one was great. Go see it. Yeah, it's a great film. You'll have a good time, and yeah, just see this film. So yeah, that's pretty much our thoughts on this movie.
Alright guys, now it's your turn to leave us your comments down below. Make sure to tell us how you feel about this movie. Are you going to go out and watch it? Are you a fan of this trilogy? Leave it in the usual spot. And that is all.